Welcome to Book Banter with me, your host, Dianne Burkhart. I hope you will join me every Wednesday as we explore all things to do with, well, books. Let's get on with our show today. Hello, my happy people. Today is February 14th, and happy Valentine's Day. I hope you all are having a wonderful day today. I think we're probably going to be going out to dinner later tonight, so let's get on with this show so I don't hold things up. Today we have an incredible author with us. She is a stand-up comedian. She is a very prolific writer for articles for several publications, and she has just put out a new book of essays called Isn't She Great? Women-Led Comedies from 9 to 5 to Booksmart. She is, of course, Elizabeth Teets, and she is part of our Love Fest for the opener of Season 3 of Book Banter with Dianne Burkhart. Today, we get to talk about a love of movies and fashion and writing and so much more. So, let's not waste any more time. Let's get right to the interview. Please welcome to Book Banter with Dianne Burkhart, Elizabeth Teets. Thank you so much for joining me today. Why don't you go ahead and tell our listeners who you are and what you do?
My name is Elizabeth Teets. I'm a writer and I'm a comedian and lover of all things movies. And I am a theater hostess and above all, just an explorer of the world. And I have an anthology I edited coming out that kind of encompasses all those things. It's called Isn't She Great? And it is a collection of writers talking about their favorite women-led comedies.
That's one thing that we've really been discussing a lot with some of my other guest authors whenever we're talking about movies, is how Hollywood is just starting to realize that women-led movies can actually make money.
It's shocking that it's still a thing.
It's amazing that they haven't realized that these are successful when they've been successful before.
Especially like just the whole thing that we got this year of Barbie and Oppenheimer coming out on the same day.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of becoming like this cultural phenomenon is because they couldn't just believe that there would be room for a movie about women.
Yeah.
And that one ended up being more successful. But the fact that was like, oh my gosh, in the cultural zeitgeist for like months, that was all anybody talked about, it felt like.
And oh my God, America's speech, her monologue in that movie was perfect.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely have some notes for it. I feel like that was just like the tip of the iceberg.
Oh yeah.
I think that, as far as like actually getting that in the film as a Trojan horse was really interesting, especially as far as like it being in a movie about a toy.
Yeah. So, but I have a feeling that in theaters around the world, there were women clapping when she did that speech. Because it was so perfect that, you have to want to be thin, but you can't say you want to be thin. You can't be too thin, but you can't be too fat. You have to be healthy. And it's like, oh my God, who doesn't have those thoughts?
I think that that's so true. And just every judgment you make as a woman, there's somebody who's going to have an opinion on it.
Oh, yeah.
And especially when it comes to things like power or ambition or body politics, there's just so much happening in my brain every single day that is just stressing me out. And I can't really do anything with it. Yeah. I will be really interested in the Oscar nominations for that film because I'm really afraid they're going to like nominate Ryan Gosling and then no one else in the cast is going to get anything, which will just be like the irony of that will just like devastate me.
Yeah.
But I do think it's really possible.
Yeah, that's frightening too.
Mm-hmm.
Now, you didn't start out with writing books. You actually got your writing chops doing articles. You have quite a few.
I do. So I started out mostly doing stand-up and then kind of transitioned from stand-up just to work on my comedy chops, like a satire writer. I started mostly writing for this website called The Hard Times, which is like a punk rock satire site. I was kind of a teenage punk rocker, so that transition was super easy. I've always had tremendous respect for satire writers, and I just love the art of satire so much. You know, just going everything we're talking about with the
Mm-hmm.
speech in Barbie, just making fun of this crazy world brings
Yeah.
me so much joy. um, and then from working at the Hard Times, there was a brief period where Macaulay Culkin had his own satire website that he was funding
Mm-hmm.
called Bunny Ears. And I got handpicked to go and work for him on his site. And that was really fun and paid my electricity bill for
Nice.
many months. So that's kind of how that happened. And then I didn't really transition into being fully what you would call like a serious essayist until probably during the pandemic. And that's when I really thought about my life and where it was going, and was thought about who my influences are. And I want to be an essayist. I'm tired of this stand-up stuff all the time. I don't really see myself working on a cruise ship or being away from my family or anything like that. So I was just like, I should just do what I've been wanting to do this whole time, and just finally gave myself permission to do it.
I think the pandemic was actually a big wake up call for a lot of people. It's like, am I really happy with what I'm doing right now? Do I want to spend the rest of my life doing the same thing? And a lot of people that I've talked to, even just on this podcast, they made a huge career change during the pandemic.
Yeah, it's been interesting. I think it was good that everybody kind of got a shakeup. As much as everything was horrible and tragic, I wish we would have gotten a shakeup in a different way,
Yeah.
that didn't involve so much death and destruction.
Yeah.
But for the people that did get kind of like a moment to slow down and reflect, I've seen so many people who realize that they really just want to write books.
Hmm.
Because I think there's like so many of us, we really just want to write books, but writing books is so isolated and hard and long, and it's a battle. And then you get something that you actually have to think of, like, oh, is anybody actually going to read this?
Yeah.
Because I have so many people's books that I did not read. It's really rewarding, but it's long. Where some of these other art forms that I've, article writing or like getting on stage, you get like a jolt or like a little high, like instantaneous. Where if you put out a book, that takes 2 years before you
Yeah.
start getting anything.
If you decide that you want to go traditionally, you have to do the whole process. Do you want to get an agent? Do you want to try and query on your own? Do you want to go through your own editor? Do you want to hope that they'll give you an editor? Like, and then
Yeah.
even if you do get around to the very end of it and they've published your book, you have to do all of the press. It's like,
Yes.
it's amazing how much is involved beyond just writing the book.
It's so true. And I'm still learning so much. But as much as I wish that I would have given myself permission to write books maybe 5 years prior than when I started, I'm so happy that I have all of this stand-up history, because
Hmm.
I know how to talk to journalists. I know how to write press releases. I know how to put on a series. So I'm starting a little reading series that's going to happen in New York and LA called I Blame Television, which is all about pop culture, get writers to come read. And so I
Nice.
already know how to book venues and book talent and pay people out and things like that. So I'm really, as far as like my career trajectory is going, I feel like very proud of myself right now.
Yeah, that's going to come in so handy.
Yeah. Or if I just started writing books, I wouldn't know how to do any of these things.
That's why one of the things, whenever I started writing my books, I did it under a pen name and I did it without telling anybody because I was doing it as a practice. I was learning how to do it all.
Yeah. And that's the thing that I'm really kind of grateful for, as far as like my first book being an anthology,
Hmm.
is knowing that it's okay that I can kind of make mistakes in this process, because I have everyone else in the book, these 9 other women that have my back
Yeah.
and have been so helpful and so supportive. And it's this whole experience has been such a girl party, and it's been so fun.
So let's talk about the book. Give us the title again.
It's called Isn't She Great? Writers on Women-Led Comedies from 9 to 5 to Booksmart. So it kind of encompasses that particular era of cinema, starting in the 80s, 9 to 5, and going up to almost present with Booksmart. And so there's a lot of films in the book that I'm feeling this intense regret kind of now that we didn't cover, like Drop Dead Gorgeous. I love that movie so much, and there just wasn't nobody pitched me anything they wanted to write about that was gorgeous or anything like that. And so there's all these movies that I'm like, oh, I wish they would, like, we never mentioned Elvira in the book, kind of like broke my heart a little bit because, you know, I'm a movie hostess as well. And so I was like, oh, I didn't even mention kind of my main inspiration in my book, but
Volume
we
2.
do, yeah, volume 2. But we do cover so many of my favorite films like Jawbreaker and beautiful essays about miscongeniality and gender or Superstar and religion and just things in the films that you wouldn't immediately think, oh, this had like a profound effect on someone.
Mm-hmm.
And just see how these like movies, a lot of these movies I feel like are ones that people watch like repeatedly, like they'll just watch them on a loop.
Yeah.
I know that's true for me with Legally Blonde. I'm always in a constant state of watching Legally Blonde. I think I had it
I
on
love that
this
movie.
morning. I had it on this morning. I'll have it on yet. I had it on yesterday. I'll probably have it on today. It's just in the background of my life at all times. Provides me with like so much comfort.
I was going to say, it's kind of like comfort food, only in movie form.
It is, and it's funny. That movie and Bridget Jones, like my relationship changes with like every year based on like how old I get.
Yeah.
I remember when I turned 30 and then I rewatched Bridget Jones, which I watch at least monthly, but I was like, oh, I feel different now that I'm 30 watching this movie. Or, you know, watching that movie as I gained like 30 to 40 pounds during the pandemic, which is fine. I don't feel terrible bad about myself. But then I like watched it and I saw Renee Zellweger. So in the book, she's supposed to be at size 12. I don't think Renee Zellweger is a size 12 in that movie, but whatever. But like you're supposed to, the idea that she's supposed to be a size 12 and she like bags these two super, super hot guys.
Yeah.
I don't think we really realize how almost radical that is, that's kind of unspoken
Mm-hmm.
in the film, that they like never mention that, but it's also understood.
Yeah.
that that's what's happening.
Well, and I love that in that movie that she spends so much time with her hair messy and that she looks like she doesn't wear makeup.
Yes.
And these two guys are still falling all over her.
They're falling all over her. And it's interesting. So the writer that wrote about the movie and the book is about 10 years younger than me. Mm-hmm. And the essay she submitted is just so tender. And it's just about wanting to be accepted just as she is, just like Bridget Jones is. And it was fascinating for me to read it as like a person in their 30s versus a person consuming the same piece of media in their 20s, where I was like, I remember watching this movie in my 20s and feeling this way, where now that I'm watching it in my 30s, I have like a much more complicated relationship with this film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So I included it because it's a beautiful essay, and too, I just like really liked that time capsule. Where like now watching that movie, I think that Bridget should have picked Daniel Cleaver, Hugh Grant's character, over
really?
Colin Firth's character. Yeah, it's like my spiciest of hot takes. He's so attracted to her, Hugh Grant's character is. He is so attracted to her, especially the panty scene where he is like, hello, mommy. Like, he's just so attracted to her. I mean, and now, he's like kind of a scumbag and cheating on her for part of the movie and then saying that she's the only thing that's going to prevent him from being a scumbag. But he's not perfect. But as far as like in between him and Colin Firth's character is like so emotionally inept and just, he's not as fun. Or at least if you were with Hugh Grant, you would know 100% how this person feels about you all the time versus like having to guess.
I think with Hugh Grant's character, though, he's somebody that you want to be with if you want to just date somebody, not get married. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
If you want to have your own life, but have somebody to go hang out with once in a while, that would be the perfect
pick. Maybe this is a reflection of me. My desire to have a husband is strong, but my desire to have a husband that like drains me and I have to do a bunch of emotional labor for is zero. So maybe it's me who wants the Hugh Grant husband. He'll be there when I want and not when I don't.
Yeah.
And so I'm 32 and I'm just, okay, I'm going to get married later in life. I can already tell that in life. I'm just really fascinated by women who've gotten married past like 35 and what it's like. And they all seem to have much more fun marriages.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so it brings me a lot of hope. I know that there's people my age that are maybe like freaking out and just looking to see who's available. And I'm just, I don't know, someone will show up. It'll be fine.
So yeah, I highly recommend to people getting married later in life. I mean, if you want to have kids, you have to do it by a certain age.
Yeah.
But I, had so much fun being single, and now I'm having so much fun being married. So, I mean, I think for me, I did it right.
The goal is to have just as much fun being married as you do to have being single, because you don't
I,
want to be one of those people who's always thinking about your single life.
yeah, I actually have more fun now that I'm married because now I have somebody to go do all my crazy stuff with, and he is just as weird as I am. So we,
That's
we go out
amazing.
and we go travel and we go play video games together and we go to Comic Cons together and just have fun.
Oh, is he a writer too, or does he read your work? I'm
He
always
has
interested.
he has started writing because
Okay.
he was seeing me doing all of this and was really fascinated with what I was doing. And he had a long, full life before we got married, and he's starting to write a memoir because so many people have
Oh,
told him that he should do that because of all the things that he
amazing.
did in his life. He's like, okay, so he started doing it. But he's from Chile, so he's doing it all in Spanish. So
Oh, okay.
I'm not reading his stuff.
Got it. I am really deeply fascinated in like literary marriages and people who read each other's work and give each other notes and what's that like and things. I think that secretly I want that, but I secretly want someone who like adores me, but as far as reading my work goes, like a little bit mean.
Yeah. We'll
But
see.
then you kind of find someone where that won't bleed over into them just
Yeah.
being mean to you in your real life.
Well, he read like the first book and half of the second book, but
Mhm.
I write historical fiction. That was the first series that I did. And it's really not his thing. He likes military history stuff. So he got
Okay.
burnt out by the time he got to book two. And I'm like, it's okay, sweetie. You don't have to read
Okay.
it.
Understandable. Oh, well, there are couples that, are both writers and they don't read any of each other's work.
Yeah.
I am so fascinated on anyone that I'm like dating or interested in. I need to know everything they've put out because I just need it, like we were talking about before we started recording. There's just people reveal things they don't intend to reveal.
Yeah.
So I have to know all of those things. And then you can ask them about it. Hey, you seem to be secretly very religious. What's going on?
That was the one thing that was so funny with him was he was like, I really want to read all your books. And I'm like, sweetie, you don't have to. I know it's not your thing. It's fine.
I think that that's ideal because I would rather have someone try to like
Yeah.
make a valiant effort than
Yeah,
be
I
like,
mean, and he did. And
no.
English isn't his first language, so he has to like read a little bit slower when it's in English. So I'm like, don't worry about it.
Yeah. I'm so glad he tried though. That's even more effort that he was putting in. That's
Well, and he's
beautiful.
more interested in the two books that I'm working on this year, so because they're not historical fiction. So
Oh,
he'll
okay.
probably read the next ones.
That'll be good. And then wonder if he'll have any insight, things that you weren't expecting.
Oh, he always does. He always does.
Oh,
He has such a different perspective on things than I do that there's a lot of things that he will give me his opinion on that I'm just like, oh my God, I never thought about it from that angle. It's amazing. He has some great insight on things.
yeah, it's always fun. I just kind of live in this vein as far as my art goes, where I'm with people who kind of see the world the way I do.
Hmm.
And it's always fun. I think that's why one of my favorite essays in my book is that Bridget Jones essay, is that I love it when somebody fully sees something the complete opposite of the way I do. And I'm
Yeah.
like, oh my God, it really makes you feel like you're growing and learning. It's fun. I am getting way more into hearing people's notes on my work as I age and mature of
Hmm.
like, tell me what you didn't like. And I
Yeah.
just like no longer am offended about it. I find it also interesting.
And that is such a great attitude to have because I know so many people who they don't want to hear the negative. They just want to hear positive praise. And it's like, no, constructive criticism is helpful.
One of the things that I find like the most interesting of having done stand up and now being a writer is when you do stand up, your feedback is instantaneous. It's whether
Yeah.
or not the audience laughed.
Yeah.
Whether or not the audience laughs, you know, if like that joke works. But as far as like being a writer goes, it's just, I've met a lot of writers who are just nowhere as sturdy as far as criticism as I am, because I'm like, oh, you didn't get up on stage for over a decade and fully have people just stare at you.
I would think that would toughen you up a little bit for reviews.
It does toughen you up for reviews, but then it's also been interesting now that I'm working more in the essay world, because that involves a lot of structure, not just the content, but like structure and things. That I have a lot of friends right now that are asking me to come review either hours they're putting together or other things, that because when you do stand up, you get the response from the audience of whether or not the joke worked, but you don't get a lot of feedback on like the structure of the way things are placed and the way it goes in the loop. So I'm getting a lot of, can you come watch my hour and tell me about the flow?
Yeah.
And I do see it completely different now that I'm in the essay world, of like seeing like, okay, you're telling this story, but what way are you telling it?
After doing all of these articles for all these different publications and then doing the book, what do you think you want to do next?
So I'm definitely going to have my own essay collection come out next. I'm working on it, and it's going to come out probably through my same publisher, Read Furiously. Just a matter of when, because my next project, I really want to be ambitious. That's like the thing that's happened to me in probably like the last year, is just embracing unrelenting female ambition and just like not feeling bad about it.
Nice.
Being
Yes.
like, no, I deserve to be a full-on crazy person.
Yes, absolutely.
Is thirsty and out for blood, especially, you know, doing all of these kind of things that are just small, of like, okay, I want to do something like really mighty to me. And I don't like write these huge epics. Like, I'm never trying to write Infinite Jest. That's just so inaccessible to me. But as far as like ambitious on what I want to say.
Do you think that this Isn't She Great was kind of like your baby steps into going full on your own work?
I think it's what like made me start to breathe fire. Yeah.
Yeah.
And just doing the press for it and getting it all together and actually being, oh, this is a real tangible thing that I'm going to be able to hold in my hand. Just feeling it and being like, oh, this is great. I love this. This feels amazing.
We know, and one thing that I think will be really beneficial for you, one of the things that a lot of authors really hate is the press part. They hate being up in front of people. They hate doing interviews, and this should be a piece of cake for you.
Oh, I'm having so much fun. I'm not even going to lie. The press part is fun for me because I get to show off my outfits, which is really my main goal in life. So I have a bunch of stuff coming of just that are just press outfits and outfits for readings and things like that.
I did see in your bio that you are a fashionista.
I am a fashionista. Yeah, literally. It was funny. I'm okay at doing stand-up. I'm not the best comedian of all time. And I always said like the reason that was is because I wasn't fully invested in doing stand-up. It was because I just needed an excuse to show off my outfits. So, but yeah, fashion is definitely really important to me. And then, you know, my relationship is changing to it now that I'm a plus size woman, but it's also making it more daring and more fun because I'm not like a clothes hanger anymore. But because of that, you don't just look good in everything, you have to do the work.
Some of the things, it's like, I've always been plus size my entire life. So there are rules that always seem to be put on women who are a bit bigger. It's like, you know, you can't wear short skirts. You can't wear low cut. You can't do this. Like, baloney.
Yeah.
Wear what you want to wear. Wear what you feel good in. That's like the real key.
It really is. And I don't know, I wear a crop top all the time. I don't even care. I don't even care anymore. But I do think as far as like, because of just like the way garments are cut, it's harder to find something that looks really good and that you feel comfortable in. So that's like a little bit more of the challenge, but it's one I'm willing to take on. It's funny, I had a friend who used to always have this joke that I loved that was, I want to lose weight because that's what they say I'm supposed to do, but I also want to gain weight because it makes men mad.
I like that.
Yeah. So that's been part of the thing of doing this press and pitting myself publicly.
One of the things that I have found so much fun is I am not somebody who likes to go out and buy clothes. I don't. I've never been really into fashion too much. I'll go out and buy like a couple of things every year. And I do try and buy things that are really nice and stylish, but I don't like clothes shopping. I just want to go get it and be done.
Yeah,
My
I
husband
feel that.
loves buying clothes for me. I mean, we'll go shopping
That's
and
so beautiful.
yeah, and he's
Love
good at it. He's
that.
better at it than I am.
Oh, that like warms my heart. You have no idea. That's amazing. I love this gender switch up though, because I can think of how many people I know. I think my mom buys all of my stepdad's clothes. So I love that he buys clothes for you. That's amazing. I feel like we're finally starting to have that conversation of like the division of labor and relationships, but
Mhm.
I don't feel like we're fully having it.
And that's one
Uh,
thing that I like about my husband is because his point of view is that if it's things like housework, we both live in the house. So it's both of our jobs.
yeah, it's interesting. I teach I teach this class called How to Write About Your Ex.
Hmm.
And when I first started teaching it, I was expecting like the people that were going to sign up for it would be like closer to my age, writing about bad boyfriends.
Yeah.
But I would say like the bulk of my students are women in their 50s and 60s who have gone through a divorce.
Ah,
And how much labor, unequal division of labor comes up,
hmm.
and communication surrounding division of labor comes up has really been, I mean, I'm so grateful for them, because at first when I had my first class and everyone showed up and it was all these women who were so much older than me and divorced, I was like really worried. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to help so much with I can help with the writing, but I don't know if
Yeah.
I am going to have a lot of insight on the content. But I'm just so grateful. I'm obsessed with teaching this class. I teach it 3 times a year just so I can hear everyone's stories, because it's really shaping my worldview and who I want as a husband.
Yeah.
There's one that really sticks out is this woman. She got mad at her husband for a thing he didn't know about. So she just stopped cooking dinner for 2 months.
Uh-huh.
And the thing I thought was weird is I guess it was like never addressed. Just
Wow.
one day she started cooking again. As a narrator, she painted herself as the villain.
Hmm.
Not because of like the cooking dinner, but because of some other things that were going on that I don't want to get too far into. But I just was so hung up on that. Like, she stopped cooking dinner for 2 months, and at no point was her husband, hey, can I help you? Do you want to go get Chinese food? Like, just anything to address this situation.
Wow.
Never came up. Just
That,
like no talking about it. Like,
that
oh my
is
goodness.
incredibly sad.
Yes. Yes, it was. And it was just also interesting because she painted herself as such the villain, where I was just like, but he's not even talking to you about what's going
Yeah.
on. It's just crazy to me. So I do read a ton about that. And it's been interesting because it's like deeply changed my perspective on what marriage can be like and what you should look for in a partner.
Yeah. Okay, now this is the point of the show where we like to do 5 quick questions that never turn out to be quick, but we refuse to give up on this bit.
Okay, I'm excited. We'll see how I do.
Here we go. Question 1. Which female stand-up comedian makes you laugh?
Margaret Cho
Oh, good choice.
and Tig Notaro.
Yeah, I love Tig. Number 2. Which did you enjoy more, writing your articles or writing your book?
Writing my book.
Now, why is that?
Just writing in my own voice versus writing in the voice of an institution.
Ah, that makes sense. So, question 3. What movie from the book do you recommend that everyone should see?
Ooh, I mean, I feel like everybody has seen Legally Blonde.
Hmm.
I would say, as far as like a one that's mentioned in the book that's not as well known, is everybody should watch Election, which is another Reese Witherspoon film. But Election is just so fascinating. It's such a good movie.
Trying to remember if I've even seen that. I don't think I have.
So Reese Witherspoon plays this character called Tracy Flick, who is like a unapologetically ambitious female, and she is not the villain of the film.
Hmm.
It's a good movie to watch if you're trying to really see how people feel about women.
Yeah.
because Tracy Flick is not the villain of the film. She's the anti-hero of the film. The villain of the film is the main character, who's a guy, and he is definitely the villain. But a lot of times people's reading of the film is that Tracy is the villain, and really she's just a 16-year-old girl living her life.
Speaking about movies, question 4, what is your favorite movie from childhood?
Ooh, from childhood, probably Return to Oz, which is the sequel to The Wizard of Oz. That's kind of like dark and weird and creepy.
Yeah. Yeah, that one's more twisted.
Yeah.
I'm from Kansas, so I have to know about the Wizard of Oz things. So question 5, if a movie is made of your life, who should play you?
Ooh, oh my goodness. I mean, I think I probably have the chops to play her myself. um, but if we're going like full Hollywood actress, I'm trying to think of even who's like the same age as me. I've never really thought about this. Also, like, who's a giant weirdo? I've never considered this. Because I wouldn't pick up like another stand-up because I would be jealous that they get to do it and not me. So it would have to be like a straight up like Hollywood actor, but I don't even know who. I loved Hari Neff in Barbie.
Yeah.
But I think she might even be like, oh no, she's the same age as me. And she's brunette. So maybe her. She's got some comedic skills.
Now, would you ever want to write a book that was a biography? Oh, no, sorry, autobiography.
Oh, I mean, yeah, I'm an essayist, so all of my work is.
But I mean, would you write a full book about your life and everything that you've gone through?
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely kind of what's on the horizon is doing a memoir. It's going to be through like a certain lens. It's not going to be like when I was 3, I poached a clam and I still feel bad about it. But
because I always feel like a book that's an anthology of like your essays, that's like little snapshots of parts of your life. But I was thinking more of like a full autobiography that actually tells the story of your life.
Yeah, I mean, I'll probably wait for that until I'm much older than just doing the snapshot. I'm kind of at this point in my like writing career of deciding like how much I want to reveal of myself and how much I don't, because I just know so many writers that are like, oh, I wish I would have revealed less. But there's like a few things that I keep secret. One of them is my tattoos. Another one is what I do for money, which is actually really boring, but yeah, the day job's a secret. But then whenever I say that, I think people think that I'm like doing something crazy for money. What I do is it gets confusing with the rest of my story to throw that in the mix. And then I don't talk about my relationships until they're over.
Yeah. So now what are you going to be doing next? Do you do any more stand-up? Are you going to be doing any more articles? Or are you just working on the next book to come out?
I think mostly I will be working on the next book. There'll be more articles because sometimes I really just need to buy a pretty dress. So I have to write an article to finance that habit. And, I always have this publication wish list. Is this going to be the year that I get to be in the New Yorker?
Mm-hmm. So you've had some good ones, though. You've been in the Los Angeles Times, the New York Times. I mean, those aren't small papers.
Things, but yeah, so definitely been working on those. But as far as like my energy goes, I really want my next book to be pretty ambitious and I want it to be good. So it does need my attention.
Will you have any book signings where people can come and meet you?
Oh, yes. For the anthology, we have a ton of signings coming up. They're all still kind of up in the air, but I will be in New York in February. We're doing I Blame Television, which is my reading series at Sisters in Brooklyn on February 18th at 7 p.m.
And where can people find all this information so that they can follow your work?
You can go to my website, which is elizabethteets.com, or you can just follow me on Instagram, which is honestly more fun. I'm at ELTeets. And I post about my work, and then I also post fun outfits and dumb jokes and things like that.
I do like the pink skirt.
Yeah, that's by a designer named Tyler McGillivary, and I love it. It's like maybe one of my favorite pieces I own.
I really like that one. That was in one of the publicity photos that you sent me. Very cute.
Yeah, thank you. love the look. I feel like that's my biggest problem with my closet is I own too many statement pieces. So
Yeah.
then when I'm trying to put things together, it's just like it's a hat on a hat kind of thing.
Yeah. Now, whenever we post this, it will have all of your contact information in the description of the podcast, and it will be live on our website as well. Is there
Wonderful.
anything else that you think the audience needs to know about you before we say goodbye?
Oh my goodness. I mean, there's so much I already revealed. But no, not at this time. I've had such a good time. It was so lovely getting to chat with you.
Thank you so much for being on my podcast with me. This has been amazing.
Thank you so much for having me.
So there you have it, folks. My interview with the fantastic fashionista, comedian, and author, Elizabeth Teets. Be sure to check out today's description of the podcast and check out her website and her Instagram, and definitely check out her book. Don't forget, we also have the Book Banter magazine with articles with all of the authors who were in our Love Fest. There's information on Elizabeth Teets and links to her social media. So go check that out. I have to admit, I'm still a little bit brain dead where I'm getting over the flu. I've been down sick for the last couple of weeks, and I'm having a hard time concentrating on what all I need to add in at the end of this. One thing I want to be sure to mention, we are still doing a fundraiser for Ashley. She is a single mother. She has 2 small kids, and they are trying to get a new roof for their house that was damaged back in 2018 from a big hurricane that came through Florida. There has been so many complications with the contractor and her insurance and just people giving her the runaround, and they need a new roof. They have lived like this for far too long with the roof leaking every time it rains. She works full time. She takes care of herself and the girls. She keeps her bills paid, but she just cannot come up with the money to put a new roof on the house. So we have started a fundraiser for her. And just to give you like an idea, she has re-sheetrocked inside their house so many times because it's something she can afford to repair. But every time it rains and the roof leaks again, it gets into the walls, it gets into the sheetrock, it gets into the insulation. So she has to tear it all out and do it all again. We need to get her a new roof so this can stop and they can move on with their lives and quit having to tear out the walls in this house and redo it. Please, please consider going to our GoFundMe site, read her story, donate, even if it's just $10. The other day, I boosted a video about this on my TikTok channel. It got more than 4,000 views, and not one new donation came from that. If every person who had seen that video had donated just $10, they would have a new roof. So if you could consider just going onto the GoFundMe site, donate $10. It could make a huge difference in the life of this family. And I have to tell you, Ashley works her butt off. She takes care of her responsibilities. She is doing everything that she can, but the system with the insurance and the contractor has just failed her, and it's tragic. Not only that, she is still staying positive and finding her blessings in all of this. No matter what, she's still talking about, at least we still have a house. I am spending everything that I make on repairing these walls again and again, but we have a house. And the fact that she is having to go through this and she can still stay happy and still find the good in life just shows she deserves to have help. She deserves to get past this in her life so that they can go on and start enjoying their life. February 4th was Ashley's birthday. On February 3rd, the dog that she had had for 15 years passed away. She spent her birthday digging a grave for her dog, and then her daughters came home from visiting family, and she had to tell them that the dog that had been there every day of both of their lives was now gone. And when I talked to Ashley that day, she was still finding the good in everything. At least she got to spend her birthday with her daughters, that they were all together, that they had a place to live, that they had food to eat. even though they are struggling to try and keep this house livable every day of the year, she's still finding the positive in everything. If that doesn't deserve a little bit of help so that she can get past this and they can go on with their lives, I don't know what would deserve it more. So please consider, go to the GoFundMe page. There is a link in the description of this podcast, and donate just $10 and share the fundraiser. Tell your friends. Please help us help this family. What better way to show a little love to a fellow human being on this Valentine's Day than helping out the single mother and her kids? Now, the other thing that I want to tell you about, I am making progress on my next book, my memoir, Free Bad Haircut with Each Craniotomy. In case you don't follow along regularly and you don't know about me, in 2004, I had 7 surgeries in 6 months, and 6 of those were brain surgeries. And this medical memoir that I'm writing is all about that year in hell that I had, where I went through all of those surgeries, I died at one point, and how I recovered and got to the point that I am today, writing books, doing a podcast, doing things that most of my doctors all said would never be possible for me. If I had listened to my doctors, I would probably be living with my parents on tons of narcotics for pain and living on Social Security disability. I absolutely was not willing to do that. I took charge of my life. I took charge of my medical care. And today I am married, living in Europe. I have a great career that I'm trying to build here as an author and a podcaster. And I don't take any narcotics at all for my conditions. I manage it all naturally. And it's been amazing. I've done so many things that my doctor said would never be possible for me to do. And I keep finding more things to go for every day. And it's all going to be in my new book, which I am planning to publish in October, because that is the 20th anniversary of my last brain surgery. So hopefully you will all stick around. I'll be giving updates periodically about how this is coming around, and I will let you know when it is ready for pre-order, and hopefully you will all want to hear the story. But for now, it is that time again to go forth, find somebody to go spend a romantic evening with, even if they're just between the pages of a book, and have a wonderful Valentine's Day.